Dilek, welcome to Tibettv's weekly analysis. In the age of social media, the journalism plays an important role as interface between people and its nation. In the case of Tibetan community in exile, the role of journalism plays an important part in creating awareness on international, national events in general and Tibetan polity in particular. However, sometimes false news and misleading information create upheaval in our community. To discuss more on this subject, I have with me Tenzin Pema from Your Story, a digital news platform. Tenzin Pema recently won 22nd Polestar Award in Good News Feature category for her article in Michelin star chef Vikas Khanna's mission to feed millions in India. Failure is not an option, published in Your Story. Welcome to Tibettv, Tenzin Pema.
Just Ishla, thank you so much for inviting me here.
Tenzin Pema, first of all, many congratulations for winning 22nd Annual Polestar Award in Good News Feature category. How did you feel when you won this award?
Thank you so much, Ishla. And before I answer your question, I would like to take a step back and talk a little bit about Polestar Awards and the foundation. And the Polestar Foundation has had a rich legacy of, recognizing and celebrating excellence in journalism for the last 22 years. So really for me to be a part of that was in many ways, not just an honor, but also very humbling to be a part of this legacy. And I think the other interesting thing for me was the fact that when you look at the Polestar Awards, the whole jury that you have is made up of completely non-journalists. So really it was from the reader's perspective. And for me, as somebody who practices what many journalists like to call constructive journalism or, solutions-based journalism, journalism that, is more looking at impact, looking at compassion, looking to inspire hope. I think, this was in many ways a validation of the fact that there is an appetite for that kind of, journalism, and that, people don't necessarily want to just focus on negative news alone. But if I may also talk about what it meant for me personally on a very deeper, more as a Tibetan, I think that the award really was a testament to the legacy and the vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also under his leadership, all of the hundreds of Tibetan elders who've worked so very hard to give us the future that we have, to give us the kind of privileges and the opportunities that we've had. And I think when we are living the kind of privileges and opportunities that we've had, it's sometimes very easy to sort of forget where we've come from and how far we've come. And I think really this award for me was a reminder of how much and how grateful we should be to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also to so many people who serve the Tibetan community. So that's what it meant for me.
Pamela, as you said that you practice constructive journalism, so my second question is, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences in journalism so far?
Sure, Ishla. So I've been a journalist now for nearly 15 years, or a little over 15 years. And I've had the good fortune to work across different mediums. So everything from, I think, newspaper to TV, to newswire, and even, to digital now. And also if you look across markets, because I've covered not just India, the Indian market, but also, US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and really international. And so I've had that opportunity and I've been grateful for that. But also, if you look at it more from my areas of focus and my area of specialization, it's largely been focused on business journalism. But again, I think I've been blessed and I've had the opportunity to also cover historic moments even within, like, for the Tibetan community on Tibetan issues in organizations like Reuters, as well as, to volunteer for media organizations within the Tibetan community. So for me, if I had to sort of like sum up what my experience has been like, I would say that it's been a period of continuous learning, because at every stage, at every experience has helped me sort of hone my skills better, made me, I think, more empathetic, and taught me that there's so much more to learn. So even now, I still believe that there's a lot for me to learn, and I'm still on like this learning journey.
Okay, Pamela, as I said at the beginning of this interview, journalism acts as an interface between people and its nation. So could you tell us about the roles of good journalism in large democratic countries like India, and also how does it help to grow a bonsai democratic system like a Tibetan government in exile?
So that's a very interesting question. So I would say that we've all heard this, right? That good journalism, or journalism, really is the fourth pillar of any democracy, and I think communication is again central to democracy. So I would say that good journalism, whether whichever sort of country you are in, like however large the democratic setup, or even in a bonsai setup like ours, I think it is essential, crucial, like you mentioned at the start, to sort of further the democratic society and to make it more robust. But really, I think in the age that we live in right now, of this hyper-connected world that we live in, where everything is sort of like readily available and there's like a barrage of information, I think the role of media becomes even more so relevant, especially role of credible journalism, I think role of trustworthy journalism, and and really, I think journalism that is objective. And so I think that will go a long way in not only holding those in power in a democratic setup accountable, but also making sure that the people make informed decisions, so that in doing so, we have, I think, a more robust democratic society.
Okay, Pamela, let me now ask you a question on the impact of false news. George Bernard Shaw once said that, I quote, "Beware of false news, it is more dangerous than ignorance." So, if that is so, what are the consequences of false news on a society, on its unity?
Okay, so I think Ishila, like you rightly quoted, I think George Bernard Shaw, and I think that quote really sums up the impact that fake news can have on any society. It is dangerous, and there's no denying that. And I don't think that it has to come from me or anyone else. I think we've all seen the impact that fake news can have on any society. And as journalists, I think traditionally we've always been fighting of hoaxes. We've always been fighting misinformation. We've always been fighting rumors and trying to see how we can rise above all of that. But again, given how hyper connected we are in right now, it is difficult for us to be constantly finding sort of ways to do that, like to stem the spread of fake news. And yes, media organizations, yes, technology companies are looking at different mechanisms to stem the spread of fake news, and in terms of using machine learning, using artificial intelligence, and all of those different mechanisms. But even with that, I think as individuals, as community, we have to be discerning, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that negative or fake news really is sort of disseminated with the intention of having a negative consequence, right? So we've seen that happen. We've seen how it can create social unrest, it can create social rift. There's so much of polarization that can come about, and even for, I think, a community like ours, we also have to be cognizant of that, and especially that it's only going to increase, and we have to be mindful of how we fight that, so that we don't fall prey or suffer the negative consequences of fake news.
Okay, Pamela, as a journalist, when you look at our exiled Tibetan community, how important do you think is an individual's awareness on the information one receives? How can an individual, in his or her own capacity, counter fake news or false information?
So Ishla, I'd like to answer this in two parts, right? I think what you said in at the beginning about the role of an individual, I think you're absolutely right. It is every individual's role to stem the spread of fake news, because I think when, as an individual, we press that forward button or on WhatsApp, or when we do that, when we go ahead and share something on social media, I think we all become, a part of this system of perpetuating fake news, right? So as an individual, we have the responsibility to ensure that we don't contribute to it. But again, and so your second question was about what can we do as individuals, right? And I think there are so many basic checks that we can do, and one of which really is to what we've been taught in journalism, to question everything, right? So anything that you see, and especially if it has the kind of shock value, like if you're really angry at seeing that information or hearing about it, or if you're amazed by it, I think those are all really telltale signs that this could be that all is not right there, right? So I think those are definitely checks you have to make. But apart from that, I think, again, it goes back to making sure that you understand whether the source is credible. I mean, is it coming from a trustworthy media organization? Is the journalist somebody who's known? Again, in terms of, if you have, it could just be a WhatsApp forward. And again, if that is a video, just look to see whether there is editing that and that it just seem a little off. Like, is there a discrepancy in the audio? I think all of these telltale signs are very obvious, and especially if the larger media organizations are not covering it, then for a fact that there is no credibility there. So I think as individuals, we all have a responsibility to ensure that we do not contribute to the spread of fake news, because like you said, the impact of it could be devastating on any society.
Okay, Pamela, I would like to end our discussion with this question. I'm sure there are many Tibetans pursuing journalism as a profession. So, any guiding words for them?
So a lot of things come to my mind, Ishla. But I would say that there are three that, I mean, really stand out for me. And one would be to be a specialist as well as a generalist, right? And I mean, I think people would be wondering what I mean by that. And I think what I mean really is to say that be a specialist in your area of focus, in your area of specialization, so that as a journalist, you have the depth that you and of knowledge in that particular area, so you can give justice to your coverage of that subject. But also be a generalist so that you can tie it in and have a larger picture and be able to provide the context that is necessary. And also, when I say generalist, I also mean skills. Like, so if you're a writer, don't just think you're a writer, or if you're an anchor, don't think that you're just an anchor. I think journalists today need to be really a full stack model. You have to be the writer, anchor, camera person, video editor. Just be self-reliant that way. And even if you don't have those skills, try very hard to pick them up, because really, I think that's important. And my second advice would really be to stay humble. I think humility is a core trait of any Tibetan. And so I think it applies to journalists, especially because when you are assigned something to cover, when you have a story to cover or a beat to cover, don't ever think that you are too big to cover that, because you never know that this small beat that you've been assigned could one day become like the world news. And I speak from personal experience, so I would say just keep at it, be relentless, and exercise humility. And last but not the least, I think as a Tibetan, I would say always find ways of giving back to the community. So it does not necessarily have to be large projects that you take up. It could be very small things that you do continuously. And it could be just helping, volunteering with a media organization, or mentoring somebody younger, or even, in settlements where you're just helping somebody fill out a form, or, write a letter. I think all of these things together add up and make you feel like you are also giving back and contributing to the community. So I think those would be my 2 cents really for anyone pursuing journalism.
With this, we are going to end our discussion here. I would like to thank Tenzin Pema for joining our program, and I also wish you a very happy Losar in advance. Thank you so much.
Teacher Na, that's just to learn. Teacher Na.